Kia ora and welcome to the Fundraising Nest session this week. We have another Maven time with the wonderful Heather Hill from Chapel in York. Heather is joining us today from, she'll tell us where she's joining us from, but she is the head of the International Philanthropy for Chapel and York. Like always, I'm not going to read out the long bios that we have. They're on the website for everyone to see because Heather's going to tell us all about herself. Heather, welcome to the Fundraising Nest.
Thank you so much. It's just really an honor and a joy to be in the nest today.
Yeah, we were just catching up before we hit record, and I was just expressing my gratitude for you always being a champion of me and the work that I do, and it's incredibly grateful. You're always so enthusiastic and just excited about what we're doing, and I think that is what the Fundraising Nest is about. It's about finding people who feel the same, who want to do what we're doing, and that is the number one kind of connection for us. So thank you from me for always being that champion there. So Heather, tell us where you are actually. Where are you right now in the world?
Sure. So I'm in the Austin, Texas area, originally by way of Brooklyn. Decided to make the move earlier, actually last summer, U.S. summer. Spent my whole life in places that have a very cold winter, and I decided I don't need that in my life anymore. So I moved to warmer climates.
Awesome. Austin, I'm a bit of a foodie. I believe Austin's got quite a cool food scene.
They do. That was another one of the reasons for Austin from Brooklyn, because Brooklyn has a very good food scene too, as well as a lot of great music and art. And Austin's got all that. So yeah, it was a good transition.
Awesome, great move. So tell me, as head of international for philanthropy for Chapel in York, what do you do? What is it that you do?
So what I do is work with charities and nonprofits and charitable causes around the world, and help them find ways that they can offer tax benefits to their donors who are located in other countries. So in some cases, that's helping to set up a separate legal entity for them in the country where their donors are. In other cases, we have a global network of foundations. And each of those foundations can offer tax benefits in their country. So for example, if you're in Australia and you have a donor in the UK, you can join the UK foundation. Your donor can give to your fund through there, and offers a donor tax benefit, offers gift aid, and you're able to have that relationship from around the world. So it's really... Wow. Really nice to be able to connect people who care about causes globally, as well as the great causes doing great work internationally. I think if COVID showed us anything, it's that we are all facing similar challenges, regardless of where we are in the world, and we're all in this together. So to be able to bring people together in that spirit is just really, I love it.
That's amazing. I'd imagine a lot of I guess alumni from schools and universities may find themselves in that situation. Would that be true?
Yes, I would say probably schools and universities are the largest percentage of the groups that we work with, again, because alumni graduate and go off different parts of the world, but they still have a connection to their alma mater. And you have so many formative experiences when you're a student, whether that's in a kind of primary school or secondary school or your university. So being able to keep those connections in a way that's mutually beneficial for both is great.
No, that's awesome. Talking about university, we were just talking before. I am going home to Scotland this weekend. Unfortunately, my dad's unwell, and I'm from a city in Scotland called Aberdeen. And you just told me that your eldest has been accepted to university in Aberdeen. That is incredible. Of all the places in the world. It's it's bizarre. I can't believe you might walk the streets of where I got up to mischief when I was a teenager.
And it's mischief while I'm there in your honor.
Yeah, I need to find one of my children. Where was it? Where's originally home for you?
So I grew up in Ohio, and both my kids grew up partly in Ohio and partly in Chicago and then partly in New York. So they've had a full U.S. experience. And now my youngest is very keen to explore the world, and that's why they were looking for a postgraduate study abroad. And Aberdeen came to mind, interestingly, because one of my clients is an alumnus from there, works on the U.S. board for Aberdeen, and just effusive praise for his experiences there. So when I got the text message saying, I'm thinking of looking at postgrad abroad, I said, well, look into Aberdeen. So,
I'll have to encourage one of my children to maybe head to New York or something, and I'll
yes,
walk through
yes,
streets of where walking the path of your younger days.
yes.
So, one of the other roles that you've got, and it's a kind of fairly recent exploration for me when I've been looking into it. You are on the International Board of Directors, and you're actually the chair of Regari, which is an international fundraising think tank. And I don't think this has touched that. That when I explore this, it's such an amazing resource. It's incredible. It's something I want to share in the hub, and I know that Nigel Harris, who's another one of our mavens, is also involved in Regari. So I hope through the community hub and the fundraising nest, we can absolutely look at ways of how we can share and get what you guys have got in there. We're not about reinventing the wheel. There's no way we could duplicate or even try to do what you guys are doing. And so that's what this is about. It's about, a trusted resource where we can share all the amazing stuff that's going on. So would you like to tell us a bit more about Regari?
Sure. So we say international think tank, and people think, all right, well, what does that actually mean? So Regari, we talk about kind of being the home for critical fundraising, and that means thinking critically about fundraising, the profession, about what the practice is, and just asking questions. Regari actually means to ask in Latin, so that's where the name came from, and that's what we do. We question everything, looking at anything from why do certain practices work. I think a lot of times in the fundraising world, we inherit ways of doing things from a predecessor, or anecdotal conversations, and things might work, but we don't understand why. And if you can understand why something works, then you can take that knowledge and apply it to making it better. When you understand the functionality behind it. But it might also be things like today I was leading a discussion for another organization about gender issues and fundraising, and asking kind of what are the issues, what are the root causes behind them, and how do we change them? And just really kind of picking pieces apart, and it's taking knowledge and research from the academic side of things and combining it with practitioner knowledge and experience to really have a more robust, informed way to talk about and to practice fundraising.
It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and we will put the details up of how you can access that right now when we with this video. But I strongly urge everyone to get involved. And what is the best way for people to be involved per se? What do you become a member? Is everything available? How can people access, or even if they wanted to get involved, is there options for that?
Sure. If you visit the website, which is regari.net, all our materials are available for anyone who wants them. Everything from blog posts to white papers to, I think we've got a couple of green papers on there as well. Yeah. So all the reports, research findings are all there for anyone who'd like to make use of them. And if you want to get involved, there are a number of ways to do that. In some cases, it might be wanting to join a project team, and there's no requirement for how much or how little you do on a project team. It's really kind of coming in from the space where you are and offering the perspective and insights that you have. Or it might be suggesting ideas of things that you think we should be investigating and talking about and asking questions about.
Oh, I've got a couple of ideas. We can chat offline about that. So through that and the other work that you do, you pop up in many places. What do you think are the let's say two or three of the critical, I guess, issues, changes facing fundraisers in the next few years? What's a common theme?
Well, one thing, it's funny that you mentioned Nigel Harris. He and I are mates going back a number of years, and we often get on calls together. And talk about this idea of professional identity for fundraisers. And I think as the profession continues to grow globally, what is it that makes a fundraiser? What are the skills? What are the knowledge? What should we be doing as fundraisers to define ourselves? And I think as profession continues to grow and evolve, that becomes more important so that people understand what we do. I think so. One of the big issues I would say facing fundraisers is turnover in positions due to work cultures that don't understand fundraising and can just be absolutely toxic and discouraging, or inappropriate pay, or just completely unrealistic expectations. But I think the more that we can define what it is to be a fundraiser, the more we can push against that and kind of have, I mean, for lack of a better way to put it, a little more respect from the sector.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. That was one of the, I guess, the passions behind what we're doing here is, the frustration I saw in, for a long time, we now understand good relationship fundraising, but why so many organizations don't understand that if they treated their teams like they know how to treat their donors, our sector would be so much healthier. How can you possibly have a successful major gift bequest campaign when your fundraisers are leaving every 18 months?
Right.
I'm a donor. One of the things I don't mind is my money being spent on education, but what I do not want my money spent on is recruitment costs, personal grievance payouts, staff burn, and for me, it's just real common sense. Invest in your staff and make them feel loved. They're going to give you back what they need to. So I'm incredibly passionate about it because I've seen too many horrible instances in our sector. We've got a lot to be proud of, but we've also got a lot to sort out. So I hear you there.
Absolutely. And I know for me, and I've heard this from others, throughout different points in my career, I got into this work because I wanted to help people. I was originally in graduate school to become a clinical psychologist because I wanted to help people. And I took a social policy course and ended up changing over to a degree program for nonprofit management because I thought that's a way to reach a lot of people at scale versus one-on-one as a clinician. And we joined our areas of employment because we care about the cause. We want to make a difference. And then to just have those kind of negative experiences, it's just, we're people who are helpers. And there's all these barriers being thrown up that get in the way of actually being able to move the cause forward. It's, it really
Absolutely.
is not good for the spirit.
No, it's not. And I think a lot of us, my story isn't hidden from anyone, but I think a lot of us do kind of move into this space potentially through our own lived experiences or through kind of close relationships with people facing adversity, from animals to health to whatever. And so we're vulnerable when there's an extra layer of your reason why in there. It makes us vulnerable because you are so determined, because it's more than just a job for you. You actually want to make a difference to other people facing adversity. And I think when there's that other complex layer there, it does make you vulnerable because you want to do your best, you're determined to make it work. And so you can be taken advantage of in several scenarios. And when you do achieve success, it's not celebrated enough. It's on to, okay, how can we do it better? Or how can we raise more money? And it was, you've got to stop and celebrate the wins and appreciate where you're at. And I've seen a lot of organizations who just want to keep increasing the goalposts. And it's like, but are we raising money just because we can? Can we just think about why?
Yes. And I would say for me, the other thing, one of my big focuses throughout my career has been on ethics in the profession for a lot of those reasons. Like, we're here to be of service to the world. And that means being accountable to the people who give voluntarily to make that happen. But within that, one of my little soapbox platforms has been this issue of donor dominance, which is when we become so donor centric that we let donors do things that harm our missions rather than help it, whether that's issues like sexual harassment, or things just like mission shift, kind of redirecting where the organization's headed, and the organization doesn't want to say no to the gift because they worry if we say no, who else is going to make that donation, or just expectations of benefits or quid pro quo if they make a gift. And we've seen some pushback on that. There was a big scandal in the US a couple of years ago about university admissions. And it was funny because the general public was like, oh, I can't believe that would happen. Donors have influence on the admissions process. Like, okay, let's sit down and have a little chat here.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that's the, fundraisers have a code of ethics, code of conduct. We have best practices for all the different kinds of fundraising. And it was always my frustration that actually we're held to a higher account than there's three people involved in kind of a donation. There's the organization, the donor, and the fundraiser effectively. And sometimes the fundraiser is the only person that's held accountable to actions. And absolutely, that's my other passion is donors have to be accountable to their behavior and to their actions. Absolutely. I'm middle-aged now, and I have seen some real inappropriate behaviors. I was once told that an event, if you don't get your bottom pinched, you're not doing your job well enough. And that is real. You've got to charm these people for their money to make them feel better. So I hear you. I think donor accountability is incredibly important, and it also, I guess, gives fundraising the respect it deserves. That we we won't do or take whatever we need or want without I'm with you on that one. It's huge. So yes, I think one step at a time things are slowly moving forward, but there's a lot of work to be done.
Yes.
So looking at the positive, what excites you about the future, Heather? What is it that, despite all the work, what is it that's exciting about our space?
I think seeing fundraising and philanthropy proactively, working towards that shift of being more inclusive, of being more mindful of how we're including the beneficiaries of these missions into the conversations and not speaking for someone, but speaking with them about what's happening. I think that's so important. And it's one of those things that, again, getting back into ethics, we really should be looking at ethics from a rights balancing perspective, where it's not just the rights of the donor, it's not just the rights of the charity or the organization, but it's also about the rights of those we're serving. And even if that's something where there's not necessarily a human voice, that might be animals, that might be the environment, but really factoring that into the decisions that are made, whether that's the gifts that are accepted or representation in boards or conversations
on how the money is spent.
Right.
Are the organizations and got the services or what? Yeah, absolutely. And I want to see a lot more people representing. How do we, there's this kind of, I think this whole idea that we can't ever talk to our beneficiaries about how we raise the money or what we do with the money, because they're vulnerable, but actually they're the people we should actually be when particularly if they've successfully traveled through the organization or whatever the kind of services. They're the people that should be around the table saying, okay, this was what worked, this didn't work, this is how they're the ones that can tell us, aren't they? And that's incredibly important. And I think it should be compulsory that there's representation on every organizational board from the beneficiaries. Absolutely. Big advocate of that. So just before, time flies, just before we finish up, let's talk about Heather outside of the wonderful work you do. Who is Heather? What does Heather do? Where can we find her on the weekend?
Oh, goodness. I'm surprised he's not sitting here in my lap, but I have a hairless cat who's my constant companion and usually likes to pop into these kind of conversations. But, so lots of He's kind of my, we'll just make the joke, he's my emotional support
Yeah.
beast. But aside from
What's his
that,
name?
his name is Osiris. Although it's funny, I had given them this Egyptian name before I got him. And then it turns out that Sphinx cats are actually originally from Canada. So,
Oh, really? Oh,
but
I
I
did not
enjoy
know that.
I enjoy running. Just having that time outdoors. It's the first thing I do in the mornings. It just helps me clear my head, map out my day. It's kind of my mental organization time, I would say, and also really enjoy yoga. It's funny, this past year I became a certified yoga teacher after
Wow.
I've practiced for a number of years. But I've always wanted to do a teacher program, not because I actually wanted to teach, but just because when I get into something, I go deep and nerd out on things, for lack of a better expression.
Yeah.
So I wanted to understand, more about the mechanics and the anatomy, and I knew some of the philosophy, but just wanted to go in deeper. So I ended up becoming a 500-hour, so not just the basic level, but now I'm actually certified to train other teachers. But really, I just did it for my own.
Awesome. And I think we can't not end our chat without sharing our I know we've both got something right next to us. So I'll share my one first. This is my patch, my 501 Honorary Stormtrooper patch. And I know you've got something there.
Yes, I have I can put it on for a moment. It's very
Yes.
funny.
Oh, oh,
I do
that's
have my
so
Vader helmet. I was jokingly referred to as Tiny Vader when I interested in it. But I do have the full Vader costume. I don't
I
think I exist on the dark side, but sometimes being the person who asks the hard questions in fundraising gets you portrayed that way. So I'll take it.
love it. Absolutely love it. It's just brilliant. Final question, and we ask all of our guests this. What advice would you give to your younger self that you didn't know then that you know now?
Don't tell yourself stories about what's not possible for you to do, but talk about the stories that you'll make possible.
Beautiful. Absolutely amazing. Heather, it has been an absolute joy. I could talk to you for hours, and I know this won't be the last time we'll see you. We've got lots. I want to get back to you about Regari, and maybe eventually you'll be able to get out here and we can do some work together. It'd be great to see you down this side of the world. And Heather is one of our mavens, and keep an eye out on some of the Maven time stuff that's coming out. And thank you again, Heather. It's been amazing to chat with you this morning. Great start to the day, and we will catch you next time.
Yes, thank you.
Bye, Heather.
Bye.